Hi guys, and welcome back to Twisted Locker, your definitive horror podcast. Today we're going to be talking about some of our favourite underrated ghost movies. What have you got for me, Jenks?
Right. So just to start the ball rolling, this movie, it was a hit in the cinema, a big hit actually, made a lot of money. But the reason it's on my list is that it's a forgotten gem. There's lots of great films that are made money, but people have just forgotten about them forever. This one's called What Lies Beneath, and it was released in 2000 by Robert Zemeckis. Robert Zemeckis is this awesome director, so versatile. Back to the Future, Roger Rabbit, Forrest Gump, Contact, Castaway, Death Becomes Her. You'd never think this guy also did all those films. They're so different. But What Lies Beneath is his kind of his own take on if Alfred Hitchcock made his own film and made another film. So it's got a little bit of Rear Window about it. The way it's shot is a little bit like Hitchcock. But it tells a story of Claire Spencer, played by Michelle Pfeiffer. And she's married to Norman, played by Harrison Ford. And their daughter leaves for university. And she's kind of stuck in the house, and the husband's very busy working on projects. He's like a scientist. So it's kind of the Rear Window element that she's stuck in the house alone, and she starts thinking her house is haunted. She starts seeing visions of this young woman, blonde hair, and it's got a bit of CGI in it, but it's used very well. So the ghost images are very CGI, but they're not like watching Mama or It Part 2. They work really well. And I stuck this film on for my daughter. We're going through a lot of old horror films. And I just didn't realize how slow it was, but in a good way. And my daughter likes slow films, luckily. She's only like 13, but she's not like other kids. She's happily wait. She likes the character build-ups. And I just realized that films 20 years ago were given time to breathe.
I can't breathe in this thing.
You didn't have to have a jump scare after jump scare. Now, when there's jump scares in What Lies Beneath, they're awesome. They're right on the money, but they're few and far between. And there's so much character building that when they do come, the payoff is far bigger. But I just think that's what's missing from a hell of a lot of horrors these days. I think directors and writers are afraid that people with TikTok brain are not going to enjoy it unless there's a jump every 5 seconds. But this is absolutely fantastic. It's an old film, but I don't see the value of giving away the twist, because there's lots of people out there that haven't seen it, and it's worth watching. It's a proper hidden gem, but it has a great ending, very satisfying ending, lots of tension, like amazing tension towards the end. Especially because it's at a time because it was 2000 where mobile phones weren't so accessible. So there was limited ways to call for help. And every time I write a story, I've got to find a way to get rid of someone's phone. There's no signal if left it somewhere, because phones have kind of ruined horror. It's like, just fucking phone the police.
Ophelia, call the police.
Sure. Playing Fuck the Police by NWA.
You've got to make sure get rid of the phone, and this is perfect. So yeah, that's my first choice. What do you got, Kurt?
Yeah. Do you know what? I need to rewatch that. The last time I watched that was so long ago, I can hardly remember any plot points. But yeah,
it's on Disney Plus.
Boring for me when I was a kid, but I'll definitely give it a watch.
Yeah.
Right. So first up for me, we've got The Great Innkeepers, directed by Ty West, who is fast becoming one of my favorite directors. We've got two hotel workers, played by Pat Healy and Sarah Paxton, I believe, who, after the hotel is shutting its doors, decide to try and prove the hotel is haunted. And obviously, with any good horror film, it's fucking haunted.
Yeah, why not?
Now, this film is a proper slow burn, but the acting, pacing, and the hotel itself really keep you engaged in the story. The film doesn't really rely on shock factors or gore, just a good old-fashioned haunting. Something that I actually really like about this movie, similar to what you said about with What Lies Beneath, Jenks.
Yeah.
It's got that old classic feel where it doesn't rely on those things to get a good scare.
Yeah.
And Pat Healy, who was also in one of my favorite movies, Cheap Thrills. I gotta throw that one out there.
And she's in it. She's in it
Yes,
as well.
she is, of course. Yeah,
She's the fit blonde. Yeah.
So we've got Pat Healy as well, always amazing with his great dry humor. And the scene I always remember, right? And I watched this with a few mates, and any scare is amplified when you watch with an audience because you kind of feed off each other.
Yeah.
But it's when Sarah Paxton gets up from bed and she's rubbing her eyes, and then at the side of her you just see the figure coming up, and she's got a sheet over her.
Yeah.
And there's no big loud bang or any screen jumps. It's just a really unsettling scene, and that face, I just always remember that scene. All in all, it's a really good haunted movie with some good scares, and it's directed brilliantly by Ty West. But that's got to be my first pick for one of the most underrated. What do you think, Jess?
Yeah. Once you said Innkeepers, the first thing that popped in my head was the bed scene. Is a proper good old school jump. Great pick. My last pick. This is the epitome of an underrated movie. It didn't do well in the box office. A lot of people don't know it exists, even though it stars Kevin Bacon and Stir of Echoes. Came out in 1999. It may have come out in 2000 in Britain. I can't remember. I'm sure I saw it in the cinema 2000, but 99 was a release date. Probably that the lack of success has something to do with 1999 Sixth Sense coming out. And maybe there wasn't enough room for two ghost movies.
Got room for one more.
But it stars Kevin Bacon as Tom. Works in a factory. He's a sort of washed out musician or trying to be a musician. His life hasn't quite got where he wants to be. And he's great in there. You got Maggie, his wife, played by Catherine Irby. And he gets hypnotized. And it unlocks something in his brain that makes him see dead people. That's the similarity. That's where the similarity ends with Sixth Sense. And he starts seeing this dead girl in his house, starts having dreams. She's got a missing tooth. And there's one scene where he pulls his tooth out in like a sort of an illusion. It's a horrible scene, but it looks so graphic. It's so creepy. There's so many good jump scares in this, and it's such a good murder mystery. I just loved every bit of it. I used to own it on DVD. I tell anybody to watch it because a lot of people don't know it exists. It's based on a novel by Richard Matheson, my all-time favorite writer. He wrote I Am Legend. He wrote The Incredible Shrinking Man, loads of great stuff. It was written in 1958, and check that, 1958, and it's so ahead of his time. And the book is changed quite a lot compared to the movie, but it's the same sort of premise with hypnotized and trying to solve the murder mystery. But it's absolutely terrifying, and anybody who thinks that it's a kind of a rip-off of Sixth Sense needs to watch it. There's definitely room for two, so that's a proper underrated ghost movie, The Stir of Echoes.
Yeah, cracking pick, Jenks. Another one I need to rewatch. I haven't seen that in a long time. Cracking pick. So, secondly, we've got 2007's Spanish ghost movie, The Orphanage. I'm a massive fan of this film. It's fantastic. Basic plot, we've got a woman who moves her family into an old orphanage that she used to live in as a child. Shortly after, her son starts playing with other kids that live there, but only he can see them. Bruce Willis, basically. He's playing with Bruce Willis. But he's an actual ghost in this one. It's not a twist. We know he's a ghost.
I thought you were going to say Bruce Campbell's in it then. I thought, is he? I didn't realise.
This film's way too classy for Bruce Campbell.
Name's Ash. Housewares.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, this leads to her son, her adopted son, go missing, and the film plays out like a haunting mystery inside this orphanage. Similar to The Innkeepers, this one really relies on scares that get under your skin and slow burn tension. Maybe that's why these films aren't talked about as much. Who knows? But it's a masterpiece anyway. Obviously, if you compare these films to like these massive blockbuster ghost movies like The Conjuring and Insidious, I love those movies, but they're huge for a reason because they really deliver the scares on a big scale. Whereas these films are more subtle and eerie. Whereas this is why I think they're underrated. You never find a Conjuring movie on an underrated ghost video movie podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and basically she keeps seeing this kid with this really creepy sack on his head with button eyes, proper scary. It's also produced by Guillermo del Toro, and you can feel him
Yeah.
all over this one. He done a very similar film, actually, The Devil's Backbone, which if you haven't seen that one, you absolutely have to watch. That one is terrifying.
Yeah. That's another
I love
underrated one.
it is. I love Del Toro's. I
Yeah.
almost went for that one, but I thought this one
Yeah.
was a bit more underrated, a little bit
Yeah.
less known, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much about this one because it's a proper mystery movie that you need to see, and the ending is a massive payoff. Just like you said about What Lies Beneath, it's got an absolute heart-wrenching ending that really pays off for the rest of the
Yeah.
movie. But Orphanage, you have to see it. Massively underrated Spanish movie.
Yeah. I've seen it. I did enjoy it. It's creepy. There's a scene where she's playing the game. It's in Spanish. I can't remember how to pronounce it, but it's like they're touching the wall. 1, 2, 3, touch the wall or look at the wall. And they turn and the dead kids are coming closer and closer. And every time she turns,
such a good scene.
it's and there's a really good scene where there's an old lady. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it, but there's an old lady in it and she gets hit by something, a car or a bus. And her face is mangled, and it's such a good practical effect. If it was CGI, you don't notice, but I think the jaw is hanging off, and it is, it's a good scene. But it's a good pick. That is, yeah. I'll watch that again.
There we are then, guys. That's all we've got time for today. Just remember, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.